Hello Knockouts, TonyaTko here. And as I said the other day, I'm going to be vlogging a lot more than I used to. I know that as an empath, and many of us are empathic, me in particular, I know that I have the ability to project emotion. So I know that when I'm not happy, it can cause a spread of that around. So typically, when I'm not feeling 100%, I don't make videos because I don't want to spread that. And then I did notice that, you know, because the trip has been kind of difficult. And I noticed that over the past, I've been gone for about 4 months. Over the past 4+ months, I've only made 7 videos. So I decided to make more videos. Because every day is not going to be peaches and cream, and I've learned a lot along the journey, and I wanted to just take a few moments to just talk. Right now I'm in the hostel room alone. There have been a few things that have gone on, and let's discuss some of that. Right now I'm feeling really calm and very serene. I'll show you around the hostel room. You can take a quick look. So the bed that I'm on has a little light, and that's the girl. I'm on a bunk right now. The girl above, she has a towel or something over there. There's some bunks on the other side, and in the back there are some lockers. Also back there, this room is en suite. There's it's nighttime now, but right there is a window, and there's a really pretty patio outside the window. I'm like, what is that in the corner? In the corner over there, I don't know if you can see, that's a chair. And I guess the girl above me, because I got in here today, I guess the girl above me has hung up some of her underwear to dry over there. I'm not down with that, but because it's like it's right by my bed, and like earlier there was like a smell of wet clothes, and I was like, what is that? And then I looked and I'm like, but nonetheless, I mean, this is the type of things you have to deal with in a hostel. At least it's not people cutting off your toes like in the movie. But okay, but look, I wanted to talk for a quick second, you know, because I've been getting a lot of messages from people who are like, go home, come back, oh, that's why you shouldn't travel alone, oh, I'll never travel, oh, I'll never go there, etc. And I feel like I need to say this. One person is calling Argentina third world and all of this stuff. The term third world is an archaic phrase that came from the people who supported each other during a certain war. Look that up and tell me in the comments, because it was a war, and people who were allies were considered first world, people who were not allies, and then it just so happens that the people who were allies are doing well now, and the people who were not allies, because there's no second world, it's just first and then there's third. One person was calling it third world and saying, the footage that I showed you of the place that I was at, that's not typical for the areas of Argentina. I need to do a walking vlog, but I'm not sure how safe it is on the street. I took my camera out for a moment yesterday, and I bought a microphone today, and yesterday I was looking for a microphone, and yesterday was a really good day in Argentina. It was a really good day. It's the seasons are flipped. So when it's summer in the States, because of the equator, we're like on the other side of the equator, so the seasons are flipped. So right now it's fall going into winter, and yesterday was a really good day. It was beautiful outside, and sorry, I feel emotional. I don't know why. I went to buy a microphone yesterday. I'm gonna pull myself together. Hold on, because I'm not sad. I'm not sad. I'm not getting emotional because I'm sad. I'm getting emotional because I'm filled with emotion, and it's like, you remember when you were a kid, and sometimes you would be so angry that you just want to cry, or sometimes you would be so happy that you just want to cry. I have so many different emotions that are bottled up inside of me, and so they're like trying to escape, but I'm not sad. I'm not. What I am is I'm grateful, and I'm feeling nostalgic. Yesterday I went to buy a microphone, and it was difficult at first. I you know, I've met some people along the way here, and I like sent out some WhatsApp messages to some of the people that I've met, and I'm like, where can I get a microphone? Because the two things that I needed is because I'm done with the planning for the workbook, and so I needed like and I found out that this is called a block. When the pages are I don't know if you can see the height of it, but this is called a block because the pages are up high and it's long, so it's called a block. So I needed a block del páginas para dibujo, or un bloc de dibujo. Dibujo is like drawing, so I needed like a drawing book. And so I was like texting, I was like, where can I find one of these? And then I asked this girl who's in a band where I can get a microphone, and she sent me to the mall, right? And so I went to this mall, and the mall is called Alto Palermo. I went to the mall, and I was like, they have first of all, I don't know why, but in Argentina they have a lot of bookstores, and they have a lot of these things that they call librerias, which sell books and pencils and paints and notebooks and all different types of things, rulers, pencils. I even bought a calligraphy pen yesterday in case I do the GoFundMe or the Indiegogo, so that I could write the thank you notes. I bought, I'll show you the calligraphy pen that I bought, the thing that you hear. Those are the tips for the hey, I'll show you. These are the tips for the fountain pen or calligraphy pen, however you want to refer to it. I actually had bought one without the, it comes with this little thing, and then you put the tip inside. It has like a little hole up there. But nonetheless, I'll see it goes inside there, and then you dip it inside. And so when I do the thank you notes, I'll be doing those by hand, you know, to thank the people for contributing to the Indiegogo. That's if I do the Indiegogo. You know, some people suggested it, and I was seriously considering it. And then, you know, some haters came out and was like, oh, you broke and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you don't have to do an Indiegogo because you broke. I mean, I'm living off of my savings, you know, and I want to get the books done. And people said they wanted to contribute so that so they could make sure I'm in safe surroundings, etc. So I'm like, why not contribute? I mean, why do people have to wait until they're broke and destitute to seek help? By then, it's too late because you're on your way out the door at that point. You do something before things get bad. But nonetheless, so yesterday I went to get the book so that I could chart out and map the different pages that are going to be in the workbook, because in the workbook there are going to be different exercises that you're going to do to help heal some old trauma, to help you learn who it is that you are and who it is that you choose to be and who it is that you have been and some of the patterns that you've been doing. And the workbook is a phenomenal workbook. It consists of the things that I have done to get to the place that I am now with my level of esteem, the healing that I've had to do from just living life, from the molestations of the past, the rape, my mother dying, you know, a lot of the different things that I've had to deal with, the issues with money, the issues with parents, the issues with getting to know yourself. Nonetheless, so the workbook is going to be powerful. The workbook is powerful. It consists of not only the exercises that I've done, you know, like with getting rid of the negative voices, because negative voices in our heads are some of the most deteriorating. It's like the things that stop us the most. It's like the negative. I have an exercise that helps you get rid of negative voices. And so these are things that I have done and that I've done in the seminars and things that have worked really well to help other people. Like there's some things that we can only do together at the seminar, but inside this book are all the things that you can do at home. And then maybe I can do like an online class so that we can get together and do the workbook together so I can help more people that way. But we'll see how that's going to, everything is going to materialize, how it's going to materialize. So back to what I was saying. So I went to this mall, and when I went to the mall, I mean, it's a cute little mall called Alto Palermo. And so I'm like inside this electronics store, and I'm like trying to find out how to get a microphone. And so they had one microphone there by Sony, and I was like, okay, because you know I brought my camera with me. That's how I was able to take it out to do some filming yesterday. But anyway, I brought my camera with me so I could test these microphones. And the woman was like, oh no, you can't test it. And she was like, nowhere in She was like, nowhere in Argentina can you test microphones, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, wow, that just doesn't make any sense. I'm like, well, can I return it if it doesn't do what it is that I needed to do? She's like, if it's not functioning, she was like, si no funciona, tú puedes cambiar por un otro. She's like, you could change it for another, but you cannot get your money back, and you can't, etc. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense. You can't try it in the store. You bring it back, you can't get your money back. And she was like, I was like, can you tell me another place that I can go in Buenos Aires where I can get a microphone? Because I was like, I really need a microphone. She had the nerve to insult my camera. She was like, that's not a professional camera. This is a professional. I was like, come on. Number one, my camera, this is my camera right here. You guys remember when I got this, this is the Vixia HFS 21, and it has this is as professional as you can get in a camcorder. It has the microphone input. It has the slot on top for the microphone or a light. It has the headphones and audio video area on the side. It has the HDMI. This is as professional as you can get. This camera, please. This camera, when I bought this was about $1,400. About my and I had to explain to her, I was like, this is a professional camera. It's a professional in the camcorder size. I was like, that's why it has the microphone input. But nonetheless, she said she didn't. I'm getting upset thinking about her. So I went to the other clerk because she said she didn't know of another place that sold microphones or an area. Because I was like, I want to go to a store that specifically specializes in audio equipment. And she said she didn't know of one. So I went to the other clerk and I was like, can you tell me where I can go? And while he's trying to explain, or while he's trying to say something to me, she comes over and she's like, oh, I already demonstrarla for her and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, and it's like, so I'm in this area, and I'm like, here we go again. And it's like, the people here, a lot of the people are very angry. There's some things going on with their government and with their money and the inflation, and you see these economic systems are so intrinsic in the culture. There's so much I want to say in this video. Let me take a quick segue and then we're going to get back. TonyaTko, and I really wanted to just take some really quick footage of this really beautiful area. And we are currently on this street, and I'm just gonna walk with you all. I wanted you all to be able to see this. I'm gonna put the camera down so that no one sees that I'm hiding it behind my book, trying to stay safe while I'm filming. But I wanted you all to be able to see, because this is Buenos Aires, and the area is so beautiful here that I was just like, I was blown away. Let me run across the street real quick. Okay, no one's following me. I just wanted you all to be able to see the streets here, the shiny shops. I'm going to show you as I'm passing back on Santa Fe when I take the bus back. Somebody was saying that, one person commented on my video where I was, where I had been inside that horrible, one of the worst nights of my life traveling in that place. And they were talking about how you can't, there's something about not being America, blah, blah, blah. And it dawned on me for the first time, what makes America America, what makes it America are the policies are in place, the freedom of speech, the capitalism, believe it or not, because it's like there's certain things, capitalism affects the culture in such a way, like they had an Independence Day here and there were no Independence Day sales. That's practically unheard of. Before the 4th of July comes in America, you see the ads on TV and people are trying to sell things and they got the sales before Memorial Day. They're selling TVs off. But when you're in a society that's not really focused on capitalism, you don't really have sales. You don't have stores with that cater to a variety of things. You don't have mega stores, and you don't have like trade and commerce are not a part of the culture, and we don't really understand because we're in the culture of capitalism. We're in a capitalistic culture. I don't know what their economic system is here, but they don't have, like, I asked a woman here yesterday if she knew what Amazon.com was, and she was like, Amazon? And I was like, sí, Amazon.com. And she was like, she never heard of Amazon. And so it's like, so in America, because of the capitalism and the commerce and the trade, and because our money is strong and we're proud of our money and we're spending money and we're also highly in debt, we buy a lot of things and we get the things for the comfort or for our comfort. And then also, there are different types of poverty as well. They broke into a McDonald's here yesterday at night. Like if and I passed by the security guard because I was like walking. They're having a big strike here today. That's why I'm in a hostel again. A lot is going on, but nonetheless, they're having a big strike here. So I had to walk like 2 miles because the cab dropped me off because he couldn't pass through certain streets. The trains are not working. The buses are not working. They're having a huge strike. Businesses are closed and whatnot. And so whatever. So I was walking. I passed by this McDonald's and it had like a security guard out there. And I asked the security guard, what was going on. And he was like, they broke into the McDonald's overnight. And it's like, I was like, wow, I was like, only in Argentina. And he was like, doesn't that happen in the States? And it's like, who's breaking into a McDonald's in the United States? It's like, if a person is going to try to rob a McDonald's, they're going to rob the McDonald's during the day or in the evening when there are people there, when there's money there. But certain types of crimes just don't really take place in America, like the types of petty thefts and like people. It's like people are not going to risk their safety that while you're walking down the street with your phone, they're not going to risk their livelihood to snatch while you're on the street. Like if you have like a new late model phone, like the iPhones when those were in short supply, or a person could snatch it while you're on the subway while the doors are closing, but they're not going to snatch it. The people here, they're afraid to take pictures. You're taking a picture and someone walks by and they're like, snatch, while you're in the middle of taking your picture. Those types of things don't really happen. Not for phones because there are different levels of poverty. But nonetheless, so yesterday I went to go. And there's different types of poverty because it's not run down here like that area. Oh, my plug is coming out. It's not like that area that I was in yesterday. Not yesterday, the last week. It's not run down like that in every place. I need to do some footage so you can see because it's beautiful here. That's why I came here. My spirit, I felt a calling to come here. So nonetheless, so I went to buy a microphone yesterday, and it didn't work out for me in the mall, but somebody suggested a different area that I go to that sells musical equipment, right? So I was like, okay, musical equipment, that sounds like where I need to be. And so I left the mall, I got on the bus. The bus driver actually told me a different street that has more, because the person told me I needed to go to Callao, and they say the double L here like J. Instead of Callao, like Cállate, they'd be like Cállate. The zh with the double L here, and I'm starting to say that too because that's the only way people understand you if you speak like them. But nonetheless, so they said the street was Callao, but it wasn't Callao. I needed to go to Paraná. And so I get to Paraná, and when I get to Paraná, I'm overcome because it reminded me of home. It looked like the village. It had smaller streets and shops, like specialty shops with like that sold guitars and amps, and it was cute and it was beautiful and the weather was nice. And for the first time in quite some time, I let my guard down and I allowed myself to disfruta. I allowed myself to enjoy. And it's like know, people are like, Tonya, you need to come home. Oh, I'll never travel by myself. And that's not the purpose of me making these videos. I'm documenting what's happening on my trip. And I'm here to tell you that there's some lesson. Oh, I don't want to use the word lesson because we're not here to learn. We're only here to remember. But there's something going on inside of me. There's this thing that is unfolding for me, and I'm learning a lot about myself and about life. You know, it's like you want to really get to know yourself. Travel alone or travel with yourself. I don't even say I'm traveling by myself. I say I'm traveling with myself. So you want to really get to know yourself. Travel with yourself. I've learned so many things about myself. You know, it's like sometimes all too often, not even sometimes, but all too often, we want to embrace the beautiful things about ourselves. And we are embarrassed. We want to turn from the things that we feel are not so beautiful. And I've learned some ugly patterns, some ugly ways that I have had, some things that I've wanted to change. Not wanted to change, but things that I have not addressed. I've learned some things about myself, and I've also, yesterday I really came into contact with a different part of myself because I started getting petty. And I started feeling what this feeling of pettiness felt like inside, and it just didn't feel good. I was in this area and they had all of these cute little shops, and I wish that I could show it to you. I wish that I knew that the streets were safe enough for me to take my camera out, because I want you to see this stuff, because it's beautiful here. It is. It's like it's rustic, and it has like old French designs, and they have these, like it's so old here. It's old, like 1800s, 1700s. It's like they have shutters, and they have like balconies with French designs and terraces, and it's like with the detailing. I have to show you it, and it looks like downtown Manhattan in the Village, where they still have the detailing around the doors and above the windows. And a cab driver the other day pointed out, he was like, oh, these are American style buildings that were on the street, and it was like plate glass, and what did he call it? Vidrio. He called it vidrio. Because, you know, people here speak Spanish, so it's like sometimes they're talking, there's certain words I don't know, but I learned the word vidrio, and vidrio means glass, some type of glass. I don't know if it's dark glass or thick glass or whatever, but he said vidrio is different than cristal, because cristal is a different way to say glass. But nonetheless, and I noticed, I'm like, yeah, you know, because it looked familiar, those types of buildings, like the glass buildings, the tall, the skyscrapers shaped like squares, it looked like America. It looked very Americanish. But in this one area, they had like the little guitar shops, and it reminded me, because I played the clarinet when I was a little girl. When I was young, I played the clarinet. And I remember when me and my dad went to go get the clarinet, we went from music store to music store, and they had like the reeds and the musical notes and the books and all of that, and they had the guitars and all of these different things, and all of these little music shops. My dad, he's from Nevis, as you know, and Nevis is a small island. So my father, one thing that I've gained from my father is that my father doesn't like these Walmarts and these big shops and these super centers. My father likes to support small business, and he's always been that way. He's still that way. So when I was a young girl, we went to these small little shops to get my clarinet, and maybe I'm feeling emotional because of the nostalgia of it, because I remember, because it was that night when my father took me as the sun was going down, and I remember because they had the lights on in the window, and the lights were shining off of these beautiful brown guitars, and it reminded me of a time. Excuse me, I'm sorry. Please, I don't want to be emotional, but it reminded me of a time where, have you ever had something remind you of something, and you could fall back into that feeling. And it reminded me of a time when my mother was still alive and my father used to take me shopping, and it was always a treat to get one-on-one time with my dad because I'm the middle child. And so, you know, my brother is the oldest and my sister is the youngest, and so I'm in the middle. And it was always a treat. And when my father took me to go buy my clarinet, it was such a beautiful, beautiful time of bonding. I got all of this special attention just to me. Oh, my roommate is coming in. I haven't met her yet, but she's coming in now. But nonetheless, ¿quieres decir hola o no? Yeah. Okay.
Hola.
¿Cómo te llamas?
Me llamo Estefanía, soy de Argentina.
Oh, Argentina. Yes. Hablo un poquito de español por ellos, porque aquí la gente aquí habla diferente de otras partes. Y entonces habla en su acento argentina.
Bueno, estoy acá en Buenos Aires, soy de San Luis. Estoy trabajando, soy guía de turismo, tengo 28 años.
Okay.
Y espero que vengan a conocer Buenos Aires, que es muy hermoso.
Oh, okay. So she says she's from San Luis. You guys, ¿tú dijiste que tú trabajas con turismo?
Yes.
Oh, well, she works with tourism, and so she wants you to come here because Buenos Aires is very beautiful. But nonetheless, so yesterday was the first time that I really allowed myself to enjoy Buenos Aires and to disfrutarla. Disfruta is when you just enjoy. I don't know how else to put it, but... And so I realized that there's something to this. You know, it's like happiness is a choice. I've said this before in an old video. But on this trip, I've learned so much. I've learned a lot about myself. I've learned a lot about life, and I'm learning these different lessons. And one of the lessons, like yesterday I learned a lesson about being petty and how the pettiness really only deteriorates you on the inside. Like the pettiness that I was engaged in, it was like, and I've learned some things about karma, because it's like we don't have to be petty to bring other people's karma back around to them. I'm going to write about this in the book because this needs a lot of exploration, because it's not that karma comes back around to them. They are acting that way because they are already in. That karma is on them right now. It's like, it's very complex, but it's like the reason why they're behaving that way is because they're already in hell. The reason why a person acts out is not because they're like, oh, happy, and then karma's going to come around and they're going to be like, oh, I'm unhappy now. But no, they're already in that perpetual cycle. Like their cycle of hell has already begun. That's why they're enacting that upon other people. But nonetheless, and then like going back and forth with booking.com, trying to get that listing taking off, it kept me in a really uneasy place. And it was like, it was deteriorating my own vacation. But nonetheless, listen. Let me get to the crux of it. So I had the past week I'd stayed inside this apartment that I treated myself to. It was a lot more expensive than any other place that I've stayed here. And it was $37 a day. It was like $256 for the week. And then there were some things that the owner was doing that I was not in. So then that's when I was like, I'm going to be petty, and it was like, it was deteriorating, and I'm just happy to be out of that situation. But I decided to go and book another place on Airbnb. And so I decided to get out of the city of Buenos Aires and go a little ways out. And then when I was on my way to that location, I was going to go up to San Isidro. And when I was on my way up to San Isidro, it was a strike in all of the buses, all of the trains. The planes are not moving. Shops are closed. People are not at work. Garbage, you should see the garbage on the street. The garbage is all piled up outside. I wish I could take some footage of it. It's just not safe for the camera outside, but just take my word for it. It's piles and piles of garbage outside, and no one's working. And so I had to come to a hostel and stay inside of a hostel for tonight. And Airbnb, they were so good to me. Oh my goodness, they were like, we're gonna pay for your lunch, have lunch on us, eat anything that you want. I got a representative on the phone. I don't know why he chose to be so generous. His name is Oliver, and he was just simply amazing. And he was like, we're going to get you into a place, don't worry. And then they found like other bookings, and the bookings were a little bit more expensive than the one that I had. And he was like, don't worry, I will personally take care of any surpluses so that it matches the rate. And I was like, wow. I was like, he really went above and beyond. And it was like this abundance, and it's like so now I'm looking for another place, and I'm like, there's a part of me that's like, oh, I don't want to get any place that's too much. And it's like, you know what? You want to talk about abundance. When I started thinking about where would I eat if money was not an object, and I started thinking about the different things that I could do, and let me see how much time we're going to get out of here now. But I started thinking about the different things that I would do, and this right in and of itself is another lesson. One thing that I encourage you to do is sometimes things will come to you which will feel like a lesson, and I encourage you to write it down. Like, I'm going to write this down because when I had to start thinking, what would I do if money was no object? Where would I stay if money was no object? Is the fact that I'm not treating myself because it's a money thing, because I don't feel I deserve it, because, you know what I mean? It's like there's a thing going on, but I don't know what that is, and I need to get my journal and write that out, because I started looking at some of these places. One place had a washer and dryer, and it had a fireplace and a balcony and a breakfast nook, and you'll see. I'll do a video there if I decide to stay there. But it's way, way, way outside of what I would pay. And it just started making me think about abundance, and whether or not we don't, or whether or not I have not done certain things because I'm afraid that I'll run out of money. And being afraid that I'll run out of money is not having faith in the abundance that lie out there. Like, there's a lot of abundance out there. We'll talk. There's so much that we need to talk about, what I want to get out of the video. But listen, if you made it to the end of this video, I want you to tell me, I want you to use this sentence: I believe in my abundance, therefore I will. Tell me what you will do because you believe in your abundance. Ooh, that's one sentence. Or another sentence that you could say is, if money were no object, where would I eat? Or where would I live? Where would you live if money were no object? If you could stay anywhere for a week, where would that be? And what is it that's stopping us from really being able to realize and actualize those things? You know, or, yeah, there's some stuff going on, but I don't know how to put it. Because there's an economic disparity in the United States where people don't have access to certain things and will never, I don't want to say will never, because I keep hearing people say that whatever it is that you want in this life, you can get. Is that true? We're going to put that to the test, because I'm going to start working on what it is that I want in this life, how it is that I want to live. What do we do? Gosh. What do we do? Can I get it? Can I have it? Will the universe provide? Will it? Can I have anything that I want? If I could stay anywhere that I want, would I feel worthy of it? If I could stay in a penthouse that costs $12,000 a month, would I do it? Would I do it? Would I feel all right with that? And then also energetically, I made a video that I didn't put up. And in the video, I was just talking about how energetically it didn't feel right to live like that when there were people down on the streets who were hungry. I'll put in a clip of that here. So let me give you a tour. Okay, so this is the downstairs living room area. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 balconies or terraces. I don't know the difference between a terrace and a balcony. All of these open up, and I will show you my view. Okay, so as you can see, tremendous problems in the United States with segregation. I realize that segregation is not dead. That segregation has just taken on a new form, and instead of it being
racially based segregation, it's socioeconomic. And because of the way wealth is distributed, let me put my camera down. Because of the way that wealth is distributed in the United States, it might as well be racial segregation. I'll tell you what. I couldn't sleep because I realized that I want this life. I want to be able to be comfortable. I want to be able to lounge out on white sofas and wood tables with a view and 4 balconies. I want this life in America. That's what I want. I want this life in America. I just don't want this life the way it comes in America. I don't want this life with the segregation of other people.
And then later that night I was robbed. The same night that I made that video. That's why I never put up the video. I got so much that I need to catch you all up on. My mind is all over the place, so forgive some of the... Forgive me. Let's hug me. I love you. I love. Oh. I love you all so very much. You're falling down. Go out there and love one another, but most importantly, love yourself. Make sure you're on my mailing list to stay in touch with me. You get a free copy of the book the ebook that I have already written. Get on my mailing list so that you'll know when the workbook and all of those other things will be done and ready. So stay in touch with me that way. Remember, it's Tonya with an OTONYATKO.com. And I love you. Go out there and love one another. But what? Most importantly, what? That's right. Love yourself. And we're going to talk more about loving yourself and abundance in the next video. Stay tuned for the next video. TonyaTko out. Peace.
Last night was one of the worst nights of my life traveling. Okay, look. How do I get down?
Okay. This is the way the property looks.